Hello there. Dustin Zarni here, Democratic Elections Commissioner for Onondaga County, and welcome to Commissioner in a Car. Today is Tuesday. What's the day? I forgot the day.
Today is the 17th.
17th. Today is Tuesday, August 17th. And as you can see, I have another guest, another in my series of Meet the Office. We're masked up because we're indoors in a car, and so, and we're following the guidelines. But I have Kim Richards here. She's our polling place coordinator here at Onondaga County Board of Elections, and she's been here. How long have you been with the board, Kim?
18 years.
You've been with the board 18 years?
Yes, May of 03.
Wow! And so you've done a lot of work with the board, as is kind of our custom here at Onondaga County Board. You start off at the bottom and then work your way through the different scenarios. So where did you start off when you came in 18 years ago?
I started in registration.
So you started in our registration pool.
Yep.
And then
I went to the switchboard, which was also registration.
Yeah. And you became one of our verifiers at that point, right?
Yes. And then I moved to the back and worked in the warehouse with machines.
So you moved to the switchboard. You moved to the switchboard after I became commissioner, or
No,
was it right before?
before.
Okay,
I believe.
so
Yes.
then it's 2013, and then you moved to do the warehouse and become our machine custodian. When was that? What year was that?
When did...
Was it before the presidential? Yeah, it was.
Yeah, definitely.
So it was like 14 or 15.
Yeah, when Julie... I think it was 14.
Oh, right. When Julie became
your
my secretary, because Julie was our technician, you became...
I took over for her.
And then your recent promotion was just June of last year. You took over the polling places.
Yes.
Because Chris Shepard, our long-term polling place coordinator, retired as part of the county early retirement program. So, so you've moved up every step of the way. And what did you learn? In those things? I mean, obviously you learned everything to do with the job, but what did you learn? In moving up, has that helped you with with your current position?
Absolutely, because I know almost every aspect of the procedures in the office and how to do it, and working in the warehouse definitely helped with the polling places, because I was used to working with the truck routes and sending the supplies out to the actual polling places.
Yeah, and you still do registration, because everybody in the office does something.
Yep.
We don't just specialize on one field.
Yeah,
you have
still verify.
You still verify, and when we're working the 12-hour days, you're still there helping out with that. I mean, last year, obviously, 2020 was a weird and crazy year, and for you to move from one spot to another, what was that like? What was it like working last year in the middle of a pandemic?
It was very challenging. It was very challenging to learn a new position and work with the pandemic and not have working from home also.
Yeah, we did that
was
a little bit.
Kind of challenging. But we had to get out of a lot of polling places, so it was hard to, talk them into asking them to let us stay in them so that we were available for the voters.
Yeah. So the board, we're in about 155 polling places, but last year that contracted by like 22. A lot of that was done before you came in to the polling place, because they were all senior homes or nursing home facilities, or and a couple of businesses that closed because of the pandemic. Like they were gone, so we consolidated, but consolidating for the primary is different than consolidating for the general when you have 4 or 5 times more voters coming out. So, and we were unable to find new polling places because nobody wanted us in there. And even though we had government buildings that we could use, not every area had a government building. So, so what in a normal year though? What do you look for in a polling place?
So in a normal year, if we need to find a polling place or move out, we look for somewhere that is handicap accessible, has plenty of parking and handicap parking. We look for a room that is big enough for our supplies that need to come out to the polling places, and a lot of plugs. Electrical outlets are a must now with our equipment.
Yeah, that's been a big change. That was a big change in 2019. I remember Chris and I went to every polling place and physically checked every plug because
gotta make sure they work.
Before that we only needed one.
Yeah.
Right? We only needed one for the voting machine.
Yeah.
And now we need about 4 or 5 depending on what our requirements are for the site.
Definitely gotta make sure the plugs work. We can have all the plugs we want, but they need to work.
That's right.
So, yeah, and you want light. Definitely.
Light, yes.
And nice places. We try to do the best we can with those.
So, a lot of times we're in government buildings, sometimes schools, right? I mean, and that presents its own risk because of security. And a lot of times we have to work with the schools to make sure that extra security is there.
Sure.
Luckily, though, for now, for the most part, schools are not in session when we're holding an election, except for the primary sometimes.
Yeah, in June, sometimes.
Sometimes. And it's usually just testing. So it's like we can be in a different part of the building away from the kids. But we've tried to get out of as many schools as possible. So, but a lot of times the schools are the only building that's HAVA compliant in that area, right? Mm-hmm. So you remember, I think people don't realize that there are laws governing, where you can put your polling places. That what districts can go into a polling place based on the election district. So if you're in an election district, your polling place is supposed to be in a neighboring election district or your election district. So it cannot be like 3 election districts over. It has to be right next to you. If you can consolidate polling places, but they can't be like the whole town of Clay into one polling place.
Correct.
Right? So
other than early voting.
Right. Well, and that kind of brings up early voting. I mean, you don't really select the early voting sites. That's really more of a commissioner level thing because there's only 6, although next year will be 10.
Correct.
But you do coordinate with those sites to make sure that they're giving us, not all the equipment that is needed, but also the proper
the days,
area.
the times.
Yeah, right. So, so Kim, you're also starting to take on some other responsibilities in the position that I'm forcing you to take on.
Very true.
Very true. But you're dealing with the poll pads now.
I am.
Right? Well, the last couple of years I've done a lot of the programming for the poll pads, and as Phil says, the new tablet style check-in has been a great development. That has, I believe so too. It's been checked in, but it's a lot of pre-election work that we didn't have to do before. And we have, 450 poll pads now?
We do.
And then, of course, now we have about 40 poll prints. And Kim and I are working through this year to update all those together so that if I were to get hit by a car, someone would be able to do it.
Let's hope he doesn't get hit by a car.
I've been hit by a few cars, so it's been a rough couple of years for that. But so what do you find, the most challenging thing about working with the polling places or poll pads or whatever over the last couple of years? Besides COVID, we know COVID was a challenging thing.
Challenging? I think it's just getting used to it all. It's more of a, with COVID and everything like that, just learning a new position and trying to take it all in, get it down, work out the kinks of the poll pads
and they keep changing the rules on us.
Making
sometimes
sure
mid-election.
Yeah, and just learning it. I think that's just the hardest. Getting used to it all.
Yeah, it's been a challenging couple of years. From adding in early voting and electronic poll books in 2019, and then the pandemic changing everything in 2020. So
the poll pads are great, though. They're the nice addition to the.
Yeah, I really wish more counties would do them on election day like we do, because I think I know that there's always like this, kind of, fear that people aren't going to use them, or not going to understand them. But we found that, once we bit that bullet and ripped off that Band-Aid, people were, even people who said they would never want to deal with it, they ended up liking it. The inspectors I'm talking about more than anything else.
And they're so helpful too when people can at the polling place look up where somebody needs to go vote. Cuts down on calls.
Yes. That is like our driving factor here at the Board of Elections, is to find a way to cut down on calls, since we don't have a lot of staff. A lot of the technology investment that we do is about reducing
the poll prints.
Yeah, the poll prints too. Yep. Making sure
print any ballot at that election district.
Yep. So, but we're adding 3 new polling places for the general election, right?
Or shall we say we're bringing them back?
We're bringing them back. That's right. We're bringing them back.
Yes, we're bringing back Toomey Abbot, Ross Towers, and Brighton Towers.
That's right. So these were senior living facilities that we got out of during the pandemic. And I will say, though, the commissioners have voted to bring these back with the caveat that COVID is still under control, or somewhat under control at that point, and that we're not facing another shutdown. So that's why we're kind of waiting to see how this next phase is going. But so Ross Towers, we're actually moving a polling place back into Ross Towers. That's the Martin Luther King Dr. Weeks. Yes, Dr. Weeks School. So if you voted at Dr. Weeks School, you'll now be voting at Ross Towers this general election, and every voter will get a first class letter about that. And Brighton Towers is basically Brighton Towers and Nob Hill Apartments up there in the city. They're going to be voting back at Brighton Towers. They were going down to the American Legion. They
would be very happy.
Yes, and it's closer for them. And then of course Toomey Abbot is the senior living facility over by the university. They were voting up at the university SU Huntington Hall, just like everywhere in that area was. So now they're going to have a polling place that is just them. So Philip asked, is Drumlin's not being used anymore?
We are not using Drumlin's anymore.
No, we actually have a new polling place. Drumlin's closed, or at least a catering company that we had the contract with at the end of last year. We moved to a polling place. We moved those voters to 2 different places. Some of them are going to the what's the name of that?
Some are going to Goldstein Student Center on SU.
Yep. So that's the South Campus student facility there, where a lot of the voters are. But a lot of the residential area that was going up to Drumlin's, they're now going over to the what's that place? By Ed Smith there. It's a big polling place. The Spiritual Learning Center over there by Ed Smith. A lot of the residential area that was going to Drumlin's, and it's the same distance. And we have a big room at Spiritual Learning Center, lots of parking. And more importantly, we have a poll print there, so it's able to handle a lot of voters with different ballot styles. And we tried that out during the primary, and it worked out really well. But yeah, Drumlin's closed at the end of last year, and we needed to move those voters. So some of them, especially the ones on South Campus, are going to the Goldstein student center up there, closer for those students as well. And then the residentials is closer, and they're going to spiritual renewal. I don't think there's many other polling places we had big changes from. We hope to be back at Brighton Academy. We've been, are they done with their construction? Do you know yet? Have we?
I am not sure, but I know that Tom Farrar told me that we could go back for the
General.
Yeah,
so there's Allie.
Hi, Allie Nano. Congratulations.
Yeah, Allie.
And a shout out to the rest of the coworkers that are watching too.
That's
Thanks,
right.
guys.
All of the office is watching us because they know some of them are next. So
we're talking about you, Lockett.
That's right. Candace Lockett is coming up next week. She's our inspector coordinator. We had to get out of Brighton Academy because their construction ran long, but they're supposedly opening the school in September, so we'll be back in Brighton Academy. We kept moving them over to the SEAL Center over on that avenue, and then next year is going to be really big because we're going to redistrict the entire county, and that's going to change everything with polling places. So expect some big changes next year, but not this year. If you voted at a place last year, more than likely you're voting at that same place this year. We didn't do many changes this year.
Right.
So
next year should be fun with that changing.
Yeah. And it may not change like where you're voting. It just may change what election district you're in because we're going to consolidate a lot of election districts and make it easier for people to vote. So, but great. Kim, is there anything that I'm leaving out that you wanted to make sure people know about your job or working at the board or anything like that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we got everything covered, so it's pretty cool.
This wasn't as bad as I thought.
That's right.
I must admit.
Just like when I said we're going to the poll pads, it's not as bad as you think. That's Commissioner in a Car for this week. I have it's earlier this week because I have a class, a CLE class about BOE reform at noon today through the New York Democratic Lawyers Committee. So check that out. If you're a lawyer, you can get credit. You can go. I have it on my Facebook pages, but you have to register. So that starts in a few minutes. Tomorrow, my wonky Wednesday will be for County Legislature 6. Which is the southwest corner of Onondaga County, Camillus to Spafford and everything, all points in between. Then on Thursday, I will air an interview I did with Audrey Klein. She's the National Vote at Home Outreach Coordinator. And it's good, Judith. I'm glad you're coming to that class. You're not a lawyer. Not a lawyer. That's okay. I'm not a lawyer either, and I'm teaching the class. So hey, I'm presenting. I'm part of the presenters. Then on Sunday, my Zoom with Arnie will be with Anthony Brindisi, who's just nominated and is our Democratic candidate for Supreme Court. So I hope you tune in, and I'm sure he'll have a little bit to say about BOE reform because he lived through that last year. So thank you very much. Please remember the virus is still out there. Get vaccinated. If you're indoors, wear a mask. It is mandated in Onondaga County facilities. It's mandated at the indoor facilities at the State Fair. Today, Ryan McMahon mandated in schools that all daycare centers have to wear a mask, and then all school employees have to either be vaccinated or tested. Get vaccinated. And when the booster is eligible, get your booster as well. That's the only way out of this. Cases are rising, and we lived through it, and I can tell you it's not something that you want to ever live through. So get vaccinated, wear a mask, protect us all. Winter's coming. We're going to go back indoors. We need to beat this virus before that happens, or else we're going to be living with this for quite some time. So thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you around.
What? Dustin, thanks for having me. And to my coworkers, guys, we couldn't do it without each other.
That's right.
Keep up the good work.
We have a great staff, and that's why I wanted to do these series, because I wanted you to meet these people who I believe are heroes, who work every day to help you and work harder than any board of elections in the state. We're under-resourced, and they deliver every election, and it's because of them that things get done. So, all right, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.